Hi friends, I don't know about you guys, but I became self-employed for flexibility, to work on my own terms and also to earn a comfortable wage. So me working out my prices, I wanted it to be in reflection of that. So this video, I'm going to be showing you guys 7 steps in working out your prices in reflection of your financial goals. Let's get into this video and I'll show you the 7 steps that will help you in working out your pricing. Now, there are 4 things that you definitely need to know when working out your prices. Your desired net income, how many weeks a year you want to work, how many clients you want to see, and your cost per client and your overhead costs. Once you guys know these numbers, you will be able to establish a price in which to charge your clients. So let's start with step 1. Step 1 is working out how much that you want to take home. So what your take home pay is, so your net income. So for example, let's say that you want to earn £35,000 a year. So your annual income, your take home pay. So this is after tax and everything else has been paid. This is how much money you want to put in your pocket as yours. Once you know that number, put that number aside and let's move on to step 2. Okay, so step 2 is how many weeks do you want to be working in a year? Now, you do have to bear in mind that you have to deduct a few weeks because there are annual leave, like when you want to go on holiday. There's sick days as well. There's the bank holidays. There's also those days where you go for training to keep yourself updated, conferences and workshops. Let's say you want to have 8 weeks off a year. So you want to deduct that from 52 weeks that are in the year, which gives you 44 weeks of working. Once you have that number, then put that number aside and let's move on to step 3. Step 3 is how many clients do you want to see in a week? Now, a way to do this first is by figuring out how many clients do you want to see in a day. Once you know that number, then multiply it by how many clients you want to see in a week. For example, 8 clients a day, 4 days a week. 8 times 4 equals 32 clients a week. Once you have your number, write it down and put it aside because we're going to need those numbers in a minute. Right, okay, so now we want to put these first set of numbers together. Now it should look something like this. I want to see 32 clients a week, 44 weeks of the year, and my financial goal is a net income of £35,000 per annum. So now what we're calculating is our take-home pay. We will add on our costs in a moment. So with our take-home pay, what we want to do is we want to divide your desired net income by the number of weeks you want to work a year. You want to divide the weekly figure by the number of clients you wish to see. For example, 35,000 divided by 44 divided by 32, and that equals 20, I'm going to say £25 just to round it off. Okay, so that's your take home, and we will come back to that number in a moment because now what we want to be doing is adding on our overhead costs and our costs per client, which leads us to step 5. Okay, so this next step, step number 5, is the most tedious step because we're going to be working out our overhead costs and our cost per client. Okay, so I am going to go through this step by step with you guys. Okay, but if you want to just download the PDF and do it later, you can, or come back to this video later, you can. All the information is in the comments and description below. Now, what we're going to be doing is breaking down our costs into categories. Now, I understand that when you first qualify as a foot health practitioner, you have no clue about, you know, what your overhead costs are going to be. I get it, okay? But we're going to work through this together and we will figure it out, okay? Right, so I feel like it is a good idea to put everything down on a spreadsheet. If you know how to use spreadsheets, that is fantastic. If not, there are apps out there as well, but as long as you can see an overview of what your expenses are, it's really, really helpful. Right, so fixed costs. So these are things which you pay every month or every year. So even if you wasn't working for I don't know how long, these will still be coming out of your bank account to be paid, such as your rent, your insurance, autoclave service, your phone. Now what you want to do is put it into your spreadsheet. So I have a monthly section, so from April to April, or you can do from January to December. It's totally up to you. Next is instruments and equipment. So instruments and equipment, they depreciate over time, so they need replacing every few years, right? So it's good for us to know how often we'll be replacing these instruments, because obviously that money is coming out of our pocket and we need to factor that into our pricing as well. So a way to do that is by working out or finding out what the life expectancy of the equipment or instruments we have bought are. So for example, let's say nippers. So a pair of nippers is £35 and the life expectancy is around 2 years. So to calculate this, we will divide £35 by 2 years life expectancy, which gives us £17.50. So it's costing us £17.50 a year for one pair of nippers. So we want to make this into a monthly cost. So we divide it by 12 because there are 12 months in the year, which gives us £1.46. So it's £1.46 a month it costs us for one pair of nippers. So this is what I mean, that it's tedious. You're going to have to do this with all your instruments and equipment, but once it's done, it is done. So one thing that I quickly want to mention about instruments and equipment, that they do have a life expectancy, but it is variable because it depends on how you as a clinician has looked after your instruments and whether they are of good quality as well. So the life expectancy of an equipment or instrument will be different to somebody else. So you really do need to look after your equipment and your instruments, otherwise you're just spending more money unnecessarily. Next is consumables. I guess you need to have an idea of what you're going to be using when you go to see a client. So from, this is like from your gauze to your creams, so all the little bits that you're using when you go and see a client. If you write a list of all these things, and then you need to work out how much of it you use in an appointment. So let's say, for example, a pack of gauze, a pack of 100 gauze is £5. So 5 divided by 100 equals 5 pence per gauze, right? So if you use 2 gauze per client, it would cost 10 pence per client. It adds up, right? It adds up. So you want to do this with all of the items that you use when you go and see a client, so all the consumables. And what you want to do is you want to add them all together, and then you want to multiply it by how many clients you see in a month. And then you want to add it to your spreadsheet. Okay, so next is costs of courses and conferences. Now this needs to be included because it's a cost to you. You are paying to update yourself to deliver the best quality of care that you can to your clients. So that's things such as attending conferences, courses and workshops. So you need to figure out how many workshops or courses or conferences you want to go to a year, and then you want to add them all together and then divide it by 12, and then you want to add it into your spreadsheet. Next is the vehicle. So depending on whether you use your own car, whether you use your family car, whether you lease a car, this one I do find really difficult, but a way to do it is just sometimes we do have to kind of estimate costs because we can never get it to the penny. You don't know how much petrol you're going to be using in a year. You don't know whether you're going to have an accident, for example, or you have to pay extra for during your MOT because something needs replacing or fixing. So some examples of costs when it comes to a vehicle, if you're domiciliary, is insurance, MOT or road tax, repairs. Like I said, it can be tricky as we can't predict what will go wrong with our vehicles. If we finance or lease, so our monthly payments for that, and our vehicle replacement. So for example, £250 a month to lease or finance or set aside to cover costs for your vehicle. So the next one is utilities, another tricky one really. So this is the use of water, electricity and gas. So this includes like the running of your autoclave, when you wash your uniform in the washing machine. So all these little bits, they do add up in costs, and this is money coming out of your pocket. Next there is marketing. Figure out how much do you want to spend on marketing. So things such as your leaflets, your business cards, adverts in the parish news or magazines, things like that. If you can work out how much you are spending on that, or that you've spent already, because I know a lot of people who are health practitioners, you've just qualified, you've already done it in preparation. So if you have those numbers, that's great. If you don't, just work out you know, what you're going to be spending your money on or how much your budget is for your marketing, and then add that to your spreadsheet. Next is your pension. So when we're employed, we put money aside for our pension. That comes out of our paycheck, right? So why not the same for when we're self-employed? Where's that money going to come from otherwise? So make sure to think about how much you want to put aside each month to contribute towards your pension and put it on your spreadsheet. So step 6. So you should have a very, very clear overview of your cash flow. Okay. So guys, you're gonna have to ignore my daughter in the background. She's singing away like she's, I don't know, Mariah Carey. But so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna calculate all our overhead costs, our running costs, our expenditure, our overview, so that we have a big number that we need to calculate with the amount of clients we're seeing in the year. So to do this, you want to divide the total yearly expenditure by how many clients you want to see a year, and that should give you the cost per client. Okay, so now we need to factor in tax, because we will get taxed, okay? With whatever we earn, we get taxed 20%. Now, I add in 25% as a buffer because you never know. So you want to add on 25% onto that cost per client. Okay, so now we've got our two big numbers. We've got our costs per client and our running costs as well. And then we have our desired take-home pay. So now we want to put those together. So we just add them together, and that will give us a baseline of what we should be charging our clients. Now, bear in mind, these calculations are based on a full clinic. So realistically, there will be days where people don't turn up, they cancel, or unexpected expenses pop up. So it's really important that, you know, we factor all of this in. So guys, if you did like this video, please do like it and share it if you want to as well, because it will definitely benefit somebody else, especially those of you who are just coming out of training and you have no clue what to charge your clients. Definitely do not base it on other people's pricing, because like I said in the beginning, this is your desired income, your personal desired income, and somebody else's may be different. They may be working full-time or part-time. It depends on what you want your income to be, so that you can live the life you want to live, I guess. Anyway guys, I will see you soon. As always, it's been a pleasure. See you in the next one.